Hey, good evening, everybody. No music to start the show off tonight. We're just going in and we're going to talk about the auctions from the last, I think, 10 days, three fairly significant ones. We had the Heritage special mini signature event auction. Then we, of course, and before that was the ComicLink auction. That was like the day before that. And then we have the ComicConnect auction from just last Monday. So it's been a busy week as far as auctions goes. But before we get started, I wanted to welcome Dino because as you can see, Dino is he's vacationing right now and tuning in and
hello, everyone.
The show.
And here's the irony, everybody, because we just had this conversation. So Dino's saying, I'm in Hawaii. Can't you tell how relaxed I am? And I said, Dino, you always look relaxed.
Oh, but even more so this time of year.
Doesn't mean necessarily that we know you're on vacation.
Oh, I got someone got my back, so Spidey's there to kind of keep me calm.
There you go.
Well, he's curious about the update as well.
Absolutely.
Oh,
hey,
welcome.
Donald just signed up as
Hey, Nick, how you doing?
Thank you, Tom.
Good,
and,
good. It's an exciting day. It's an exciting day. We get to talk about three different auction houses, which is nice. It's nice to have it more well-rounded.
Yes, we do. So, hey, before we get started, as everybody knows, last night I did do a unboxing of some packages I got, and there was one that was sitting on the kitchen counter apparently for 3 or 4 days, and nobody told me about it, and it was from Mr. Marcus Way. So I figured before we get started with the recap, I'm going to get into this box, and we'll see what Marcus has sent my way. And let's see here. Oh, look at that. Oh, my goodness. Oh. Hey. All right. Well, it's definitely a Make Mine Marvel gift of what do we got in there? Two in each. Two of us in each. So, it's those like mini little plasticky kind of guys, probably. But
very cool.
I will break into that after the show to see which ones I got. And then I've got something packaged here in. Let's see. Whoop.
It's pajamas.
It could be pajamas. Well, maybe it's that top I was looking for after Anthony got me something. We've got, it looks like a magnet and a sticker.
Sweet.
Yeah. Oh, and Cyclops is on the sticker, so that's pretty cool. I like that. And a pencil, or a pen. I can always use those. And what do we got here? Some packs of tissue, some Kleenex. My goodness. But of course, Marvel themed as well.
Nice.
What do we got here? Oh my gosh, a red Sonya Dynamite sketch card. Nick, look at that.
Awesome.
Oh, look at that.
Nice.
And it's got the red Sonya printed cover on the back. That is great. Dynamite Comics logo on that one. And then what else we got in here?
Wow, Marcus Santos really delivering this time of year.
All right,
Jason, you know what? I think that we've been talking about this show for so long.
This is the artist is named Nate. Do I have a last name on that one? Nate. Then an 05 of a Spider-Woman.
Wow,
that is nice.
Still keeping with
all
the
pencil,
Marvel
all
here.
pencil,
all pencil. That goes along with that piece that I got from Jeff. All pencil as well. And finally, this one's actually wrapped in Spider-Man. You've got your Spider-Man, Dino. I've got one right here.
I'm Spider-Man in the Dino card, so I'm good with that.
I'm impressed. Marcus get all that in one UPS medium box.
I know.
That's
oh boy,
serious box. Oh, what is?
All right. Here you go. Take a look at that. This is an Infinity Saga set of Legos. What do we got on there? We've got the Brothor, of course, Korg, and Nick in this one. So looks like I've got some work cut out to me. The family loves Legos, so this will be something we'll probably. I don't know if I'll be able to take it up to Ohio with me, but yes, it's welcome to New Asgard. Please drive slowly.
Nice.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Thank you, Marcus. This is a great
way to go, Marcus.
Precursor to Christmas. I really appreciate it. Wow, that is awesome. Oh man. So, hey, one other thing I wanted to mention before we get started too, because Ken is in the chat and he's got a special event going on right after Christmas. So on Tuesday, December 27th at 7 p.m. over on the 4C Comics channel. And, Ken has been working with the National Cartoonist Society Foundation, and they've got an opportunity with Matt Groening here related to Simpsons and Futurama stuff. I can read the little press announcement. It says on December 27th at 7 p.m., 4C Comics will host a very special offer and opportunity to bid on comics that will be signed, and some will even be remarked by Matt Groening. All books offered will be pre-screened live by Captured Collectibles. There will be a very limited number of books offered. All proceeds raised during the auction will go to the National Cartoonist Society Foundation, the charitable arm of the National Cartoonist Society. So normally I would save that announcement for a CAF update, but we're not doing one this week because of the holidays. So if you haven't subscribed to Ken's channel over at 4C Comics, he's on YouTube, he's on Facebook. So and they do a lot of fun. They're always doing sketch events with artists, and then I think once a month they try to do an auction or sale that benefits the National Cartoonist Foundation. And again, it's a very worthy charity, and you get a good interview typically, and a great show when they put those together. So Ken, you're doing great work, and we support you here.
And remember, if you participate in that auction, don't forget to bring your dough.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Nice, quick, and to the point.
Exactly. Oh man. Well, now we've gotten all the things out of the way, the pleasantries to get the show started. Why don't we go ahead and I don't have any slides to talk about these.
Actually, Nick, I think, has a public service announcement.
Oh, that's right. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, Nick. Yes, let's talk about the Fat Jacks GoFundMe, because it's kind of tripled since it was at where we started the show last night. So go ahead and give us a recap on where we're at with that.
So thank you, Bill. And Bill, so Fat Jacks has hit hard times, and they are the store that I started buying at when I was 13 years old. I mentioned it last night. When I went to Fat Jacks, basically, Mike allowed me to buy from him wholesale so that I could then buy comics and sell them at conventions. So Mike has a really soft place in my heart. They hit some hard times about 4 years ago, and they got out of it. And then Philadelphia, much like New York, all the retail stores that were in the middle of cities, in the middle of high occupation cities for people working there, people just stopped buying comics for a while. So Eric started a GoFundMe, and thanks to everybody last night who contributed to the GoFundMe, and then Bleeding Cool ran an article today about the GoFundMe. They're up to $4,700. Look, obviously, Fat Jacks means a lot to me. If you are able to contribute to the GoFundMe, that'll be great. I will say people like Alberto last night and Ronald went above and beyond. Alberto not only put money into the GoFundMe, but he sent an email saying he's going to start buying Captain America comics for Fat Jacks to put together a list of Captain America comics for him to buy. So
Alberto, awesome.
Thank you, everybody who did this. This Friday on my Experience show, everybody knows I'm a big Jim Aparo fan, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to have 4 pages of art from Brave and the Bold 135, and any of these pages that sell, I'm going to give all the money to Fat Jacks. So all the money of these 4 pages, and I'll have other art where maybe I'll do partial sell, if this John Romita Jr. Hobgoblin sells, I just got this, so I don't think I can give all the money to Fat Jacks, but I would donate some of it to Fat Jacks. And we've got some really cool Bob Layton art that we'll be able to do some stuff with. So, look, Mike is one of the reasons why I'm able to do what I'm doing. I was a weekend warrior, but he started selling to me wholesale, which helped me just grow. So if anybody can hang out on Friday, come watch the show, 7 to 8 Eastern. And like I said, any of the
really
money,
fun.
on these Brave and the Bolds that sell, I'm going to donate to Fat Jacks. And here's the other thing. These pages are going up. Anthony actually had a page from this issue for like $3,000. I'm probably going to price these in the $1,600 to $1,800 range to make sure they can sell. So really want to give a value to whoever supports and want to give the money to Mike at Fat Jack. So yeah, just real quick. And again, if you guys can kick in on the GoFundMe, that'll be great. You know, the one thing we're trying to do right now, I said this last night, Diamond is a business and they have to do what they can. We just want to stop Mike from having to go to COD because of the unevenness of the way comics are distributed. It's not like every week Mike knows he's getting a $3,000 bill if you're on COD. You know, some weeks might be 6,000, some weeks might be 1,000. Being on COD would be a huge problem. So anyway, thank you. And thank you, Bill, and thank you, Dino.
It's our pleasure.
Great cause.
Yes. Let me switch things around here. So yeah, we're going to follow a format that we did the same way last time, where we've all selected artworks from all 3 auctions. And I guess Nick, since you're kind of in the place of power, right over here, we'll start with you. So we're going to review each auction in its entirety for each person's picks. So we're going to start off with ComicLink's auction, since that was the one that ended first. And Nick will start with the pieces that you selected from that one. And again, like I mentioned, I didn't make any slides for these because it wasn't a traditional signature event auction from Heritage. Just but even very evenly matched kind of auctions, I think, in general between the 3 of them. You know, there were great pieces from all 3, which is something that you know, at this level, I don't think we've seen that many kind of that close together as far as, like, you know, evenly matched auctions from separate auction houses. So
right. And for 2 things. One is we've had a lot of requests to do a little more market insights, kind of on our discussions. So we'll incorporate a lot of that. And 2 is heading into these auctions, there was always this, not only the economic challenges that are happening, but there's always this people saying, hey, you know, if you want to get maximum value, put it in the Heritage Auction House signature auction. Well, the corollary is, do these other auctions are they able to get top dollar for good pieces? And I think, you know, we'll see as we talk about these discussions whether they each of their own have been able to kind of deliver that level of high realized prices, or is it different, or what does it say about the market going forward? So I think that would be interesting to kind of share with the teams.
Yeah, and I think the overall, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, Dino. The overall is the market's strong at this point. All the auction houses are kicking it. They just really are.
Yeah, you won't get any arguments from me on that one. That's very true. And they're getting good material, whereas you would.
And that's what I mean. You have the distribution of A material,
which is which is great to see, right? Because you would think that if you think just Heritage is having all the good fortune that which they have had, that people would just focus on them, but they're not. They're really, I think they're sticking true to probably, you know, if you use ComicLink to consign work to before, you're still using them. And if it's ComicConnect, they're building up that base. ComicConnect had a really large selection of art and a lot of great art this time around. So, but they've been going out, that point of presence at the shows, being very aggressive to get consignments, and so you know, it's good to see that there's parity, right, as far as people choosing where to consign their works. And you know, and I think competition is always good, you know, for all of us at the end of the day, for them in business as well, because if it was all going one direction, that wouldn't be good for the other businesses, and at the end of the day, it wouldn't be good for the hobby or even that one business getting all that business. So I think this is very, very good for all of us.
It is, and before we dive into it, the only thing I'll say is, considering we had 3 big auctions basically back to back, one that ended on a Wednesday, one that ended on a Saturday, and one that ended on a Monday, the fact that the prices realized were so high, great time to be a seller.
It is.
Yeah.
But, tough as a buyer.
Also great time to be a buyer, because pieces that you never thought would come out are coming out because of it.
That's right.
Plus a lot more, but they're coming out.
And you must be happy because a lot more DC, a lot more variety of stuff. You saw some, Crazy Cats. You saw some really nice 50s, 60s material, good early Marvel. Tons of really quality 90s, 80s and 90s art, which should make people happy, and some modern stuff as well. So good variety as well.
Yeah,
all throughout the auction.
And as you said earlier, Dino, if anybody wants us to talk about any piece in particular, just let us know.
Type it in.
All right, let me see here. Swing this around, get this highlighted. All right. So, Nick, you're going to start us off, like I mentioned. So this first piece is the Man-Thing cover. This was on ComicLink. We're going to discuss ComicLink's results first. This one sold for $9,300, had 80 bids. And, really, for me, I love Man-Thing. I was a big horror fan in comics when I got started. So I loved books like these. So this is a really awesome cover.
Yeah, what I thought about this piece was this one went for just the right price. There were a couple of pieces that went way above what we thought it would. And I think one of you guys picked the Frank Miller piece in this auction, which shot up well beyond what I thought it would.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, but this piece is gorgeous. It is powerful. And it just went for a really good price, like a fair price to the buyer, fair price to the seller. And I thought I would point this out, but I don't think this is a piece we would have seen years ago. I think that because the market is strong, that's why this came out. It's just beautiful.
And you got Kane and Romita, which is two really good artists. And this was about the time when Romita was just named creative director for Marvel. So he was starting to put his imprint on some of the big titles coming out at the time.
Yeah, gorgeous. Now is this the piece? I know I picked one piece that you won. Is this the piece you won, Dino?
Oh, I wasn't going to announce things that I won, but this is the one I picked up. It was right in the kind of 70s era. Again, I'm a big fan of Romita. He was creative director, but I just love if you think about looking at Man-Thing, I think the most dramatic thing you can show is actually the people that are getting scared of him, as opposed to, if you see the back of the people in front of the Man-Thing, well, that's kind of a nice thing. But he's really trying to emphasize the horror and the atmosphere of this title, and I think he did a great job with the detail on the Man-Thing's back. But yeah, I took this. I mean, for under 10, this is for a prime Marvel cover. I thought it was good value.
Well, the other thing that I'll say about this is that these 70s covers that weren't considered key for the longest time are starting to heat up. So if you didn't pick them up while they were still flying under the radar, right now is the time to pick it up. Like I said, this is a pretty fair price that it went for, but I can see in the next year or two this shooting up even more, especially with one of the most well-received Marvel movies of late being Werewolf by Night with Man-Thing in it, and how many people just love that standalone movie. It's perfect timing.
Yeah,
I still haven't seen it. I hate to say it. I keep forgetting about it. I'm glad you reminded me. Now I have to watch it. I'll try to watch it tonight.
Definitely.
But yeah, great pickup here, Dino. I mean, it's a fantastic piece. All right, so next pick from Nick. This is Thanos Quest #1 and 2 interiors. So what was this? This one went for $36,515.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ron Lim, of course, on this.
It went for, relatively speaking, in my opinion, a monster number.
Yeah.
I mean, it is gorgeous. It is just perfect. And it was in both books. And what I will say is there are a lot of people that thought Thanos art, Ron Lim art, Infinity Gauntlet art might slow down the further we got away from Endgame. And I don't see that happening at all.
I agree. I mean, the Cosmic seems to be surging. I mean, with the announcement that Galactus will be coming to the MCU, you're going to still have a lot of interest in the Cosmic universe. Warlock is going to make his debut in Guardians 3. So you still you can't escape the fact that this Cosmic Marvel universe is going to continue to really surge in value and interest and collectability.
Absolutely. And that's the whole thing. I mean, this went for a really strong number. And this, to me, this piece shows that a rising tide is raising all boats. Again, I'm going to go back to saying what I said before. The consigners are doing well right now. But even the buyers are winning because you're able to get something that wouldn't have been available in the past. Because if this was still a market where this was an $8,000 or a $10,000 or even a $12,000 piece, I don't think this would have came out. I don't think anybody would have had the chance to get it.
That's a great point, Nick.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I agree. I mean, you could say the same thing about the prior piece too. I mean, if there were a few years earlier, would you let it go for $4,000 or $5,000? Maybe not. But yeah, it's just the possibility to strike it rich and then be able to turn that into some art for yourself as well is shaking the tree and getting these pieces out. But I agree with you both. The cosmic stories in Marvel, I think, will always be popular. I mean, the movies certainly help, but you know, those stories were are classic Marvel at the end of the day. I mean, anything that Starlin touched, Ron Lim touched. I mean, those things they're always going to be hot. So
yep.
There's just no getting away from it. Let's see. So anybody that, and I see as a reminder, anybody that has pieces that they'd like us to talk about that we end up not featuring, you're more than welcome to throw stuff at us. Just let us know by auction house which pieces you were interested in. So over here we've got a Bagley Amazing Spider-Man splash from issue 374. This one went for $34,000 and had 101 bids on it. And
again, this goes into the discussion about Ron Lim and Thanos. I don't think this piece would have come out. It is so gorgeous. It's around the same time as Venom Lethal Protector. It's Bagley doing Venom and making it look gorgeous. And it's a strong, solid price. And I think ComicLink promoted it well. And it just kicked butt. I mean, that is a great price to get for that. And congratulations to the consigner and the winner. I was a player, but I was praying that it would go for under 20, knowing it wouldn't. But, I thought I'd throw my hat in the ring. Only problem is that I missed the ring altogether.
That's right. There's some great fireworks to see. There's always times in the collecting cycle where prime material from an artist comes to market and they're starting to test out the prices and different. So a lot of people can get early bargains. Sometimes you get behind the curve and it knocks everyone out the window. So we're starting to see some really prime Bagley Spider-Man Venom pieces. There's a big one headlining the January Heritage Auction that's going to, again, test this market. And I think this is going to start to really determine, the magnitude of these pieces. And I wouldn't be surprised, as Nick says, if these continue to perform strongly in the auction, you're going to have more pieces coming out from under the bedpost to try to take advantage of a strong market.
Yeah, I mean, very true. And again, as those benchmarks get set, I mean, I think it's just going to continue to drive the prices up, right? Because it's going to bring out another piece that might be of the same caliber as this one in the next ComicLink featured auction or the next signature auction from Heritage down the road, or even in ComicConnect. So again, I mean, it's hard not to, as a person holding some of these artworks, to not be curious, where some of their pieces might fall, and if they're willing to part with them, it's a good time to experiment.
Right. So, the ceiling for the last 2 years on this, Nick, was 19 and 22K for a Bagley Spider-Man splash. Mm-hmm. And this tore that apart. I mean, it went to 34, right? 33.
Yeah.
Wow.
And two things. I want to respond to Knights of Old, but also to Jason. Oh, I'm sorry. Bootleg is as a habit. I actually picked a John Romita Jr. Uncanny X-Men bootlegging, so we are going to get to that.
We will.
John Jr. is one of my all-time favorite artists through all of the 50 years he's been drawing, as crazy as that sounds. But Knights of Old, the incentive to sell to a dealer versus an auction right now is twofold. One, you can decide this is what I want for it. And if it's worth a little bit more, worth a little bit less, if I left a little bit of money on the table, who cares? Because you don't have to have the angst of wondering, is this going to realize the big bucks in an auction house? And also, is this going to be one of the few pieces that falls between the cracks? When we get to Heritage, I did win one piece that fell between the cracks that I'll be happy to point out. I think it should have been worth a lot more than I won it at, and I was just lucky. It was just pure luck. So if you can work with a dealer and get a price that you're happy with, I think the biggest problem right now is there are so many people afraid to sell because they're afraid they're leaving money on the table. And you can't think that way. If you can get what you want and it's a fair price, that's your incentive. Is that echo coming from me?
I don't hear an echo, Nick.
Yeah, I had a feeling maybe it might have been Dino's mic, maybe because you're on the road, Dino. It might be, but it's very faint, very, very faint. But
okay,
you've got headphones in, right?
I do.
Yeah. So it can't be you.
Okay.
I'm not sure. But yeah, like Marcus pointed out, the Aaron Judge ball, right? He gets offered $3 million. He says, "No way, I'm gonna test the waters in an auction," and it goes for 1.5 million.
1.5.
So you never know. And I think you made a very good point, Nick. If you want to if you know what you want and a dealer's willing to pay you for that, why waste a few months or if you need that money now, there's no reason to go out and test the waters if you can get the right price from a dealer, that you're happy with. So yeah, I mean, and I agree with you as well, Nick. I mean, you always see sometimes in an auction where there's a lot of pieces that are similar, and you always think that that's going to hurt those sets of images of artworks when they go in there. So you never can tell when your piece might be competing with a very similar piece when you go into an auction. You just don't know. And then one piece could end up being the lower of the two in a dramatic way. And so yeah, you can't really you can't say work with the dealers or exclusively work with the auction houses at this point. I think it's really down to personal preference and what sellers are most comfortable with.
And I'll just real quick say Apparel is a perfect example. About 5 years ago, there were two estates, and I think both, like the collector passed away, and they both put a ton of apparel in Heritage, and they put a few out in the weekly auctions, and single apparel pages like this were going for $4,000 and $5,000, and the money that they were going for was so high. I've got Brave and the Bold 151. I think it's 151 with the flash, and I'm missing one page. And that page went for somewhere between $4,000 and $5,000. And I could not hit that button to win that page because I knew it would just keep going up and up. Yeah. I actually gave up an apparel flash because of how much it was going for. But then that's the auction. Albert had won 3 apparel covers. But then after that, there was so much apparel in the market that you could start getting pages for $700 and $800 because it just got flooded. So you never know. That's why that's where the balance is. You just gotta be happy. And by the way, speaking of being happy, make Bill happy. Hit that thumbs up.
Absolutely, that's
true. And I saw Knights of Old ask kind of a question: is it true no taxes if sold to a dealer? Well, when a dealer buys artwork, they're buying inventory, so they're not charged taxes from eBay, or I would assume similarly for them when they're buying from auction houses as well, because they're buying things to resell. So that kind of gets them exempt from taxes. But I'm not quite sure
the question's the other way.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know the question's the other way around. That's why I wasn't quite sure. Is it true no taxes if sold to a dealer? What as far as capital gains and things like that?
Yeah,
if you're reporting properly. That's not true. Only the dealer is the one getting the tax advantage, not you.
They've got exemption from
right. But it is true that dealers get that because if they buy from eBay, they file there as well, so that when they purchase artwork from eBay, they don't pay sales tax on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's no benefit to you as a consigner, or a seller anywhere at the end of the day, as far as the government's concerned. Only to dealers or people buying artwork for resale purposes exclusively. I'm not a tax advisor, though, everybody, but that's the way I understand it.
Advisor. We do not give tax advice, but as Bootlegging said, you know what's free in the comic art hobby? Hitting that like button.
Very, very true. All right, let's take a look at what the next piece is. This was the Turner, Michael Turner Fathom, #1 cover. This one sold for $19,000 and had 50 bids on it. Let me switch down here to the bigger image. That's beautiful.
It's a stunning image, and it just, there's so little Michael Turner art out there realistically. The guy's one of the greatest artists the industry has ever had. And I knew Michael well. He's one of the nicest guys you can ever meet. And, unfairly, he got taken away by cancer at a young age. But when a little bit of his art that's out there comes out, you can see the strong prices. And there's a reason why he was one of the most popular artists in the industry. And more likely than not, this probably did a little bit less than it should have because it's pure pencils. But the person who won this, in my opinion, got a solid deal. And the person who sold this got a fair deal. That was a good price. It just, just to bring some variety to the show, bring in, one of the creators that probably doesn't get as much attention. There's been a lot of Adam Hughes and J. Scott Campbell in auctions lately, but there's hardly ever any Turner. But this stands out as to what they can go for when it does come out.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought this was a beautiful piece, and anybody who wants pure Turner, I think his pencils were always fantastic. So, this is a gorgeous piece, and I'm sure that whoever bought it is very, very thrilled.
And congratulations to Sean Wallace for getting the Turner Witchblade cover. That was gorgeous, Sean.
Yeah, that's
very,
true.
very
fantastic
for you.
Wow.
All right, so one more piece from Nick here from ComicLink, and there it is. No, wait, what was the price on this one? This one went for $12,000 and had 71 bids on it. John Romita Jr., Dan Green, of course, and from Uncanny X-Men, $199. Wow, that's a strong price for this one. What do you think, Nick?
I can't get any more John Romita Jr. art from the 80s.
And no Wolverine either.
Right. Imagine if Wolverine were on here. Oh my goodness.
I know it's the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and very few of them. I mean, it's the Blob, and I don't even remember, and Destiny, and I don't even remember the other person's name. Is that Avalanche? I can't remember. And you've got Colossus and Shadowcat and Nightcrawler, and just. This blew my mind. I really thought that this was going to go for $6,000 to $8,000, which again I was willing to give it a shot, but it just exploded. It exploded, and I think that there are a couple of artists that ComicLink has really done a good job of standing out with. Bagley's one of them. John Romita Jr. is one of them. So, that I will tell you 4 years ago, which now is a lifetime ago, between the fact of the pandemic where time almost has no measurement and before collectibles shot up, that probably people would have winced at it being a $2,000 to $3,000 page. Now $12,000, and you're like, yeah, that's what John Jr. goes for. Tremendous. Really tremendous, but wow.
Yeah, no, but X-Men 199 and 200 are very classic, memorable comics for, especially if somebody was starting collecting X-Men books.
No. X-Men 200, nobody wants. Nobody wants X-Men 200. Nobody wants X-Men 193.
Sorry, shouldn't have mentioned that one.
Guys, we don't want you to waste your money. Ignore X-Men 193 or 200 if they ever come up. Do not be influenced by the fact that I want to get just one page from each and I haven't been able to ever. Don't be influenced by that. I
understand. I shouldn't have mentioned it, but it is true. But I would have thought that that one would have finished a little bit lower. But again, I think Marcus mentioned it. Nostalgia plays a huge part in our hobby, and I agree. You can't go wrong.
Bootlegging got it. Congratulations.
Oh, really? Oh, fantastic, Dave.
And I feel good to be able to say I was not the underbidder. I'm not the person who bid you up. So I stopped at about the 7,000 range. So congratulations, Bootleg.
Well, that's fantastic, Bootlegging. Congratulations. Wow. Well, that just shows, when you got to have something, you have that itch to scratch, right? If you want to get that one great, memorable John Romita Jr. X-Men page, I mean, you scored well on that one, that's for sure. All right, well, Dino, we are switching over to you now here.
Okay, Frank Miller, Daredevil, obviously a blue chip category. So B pages, battle pages, Frank Miller, Daredevil will approach 40 these days, 40K. This was interesting because this was from Spectacular Spider-Man 28. As you know, there's a 2-issue Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man 27, 28, where it was his first Miller Daredevil. And here is a nice page with Daredevil and Spidey in the panels, 4-panel page. What was interesting is that we do celebrate early character appearances, first appearances, and we also celebrate and value artists drawing characters in their prime. So it was very interesting to see what would happen when you're looking at an early Frank Miller Daredevil, which kind of rough and blocky. Well, he wasn't really as refined as he was later, but again, you could see the novelty that he brought to the action. And this one hammered at 43,000, which I would say had first of all, it's a great page. It was I think in the right range, because just watching the Frank Miller market over the past 10 years, not many pages from these Spectacular Spider-Mans have shown up. I've seen a half splash. I've seen 2-panel pages. This is the second one. And so there was some scarcity value here. I think here you have the Spidey, second page, the Spidey up the top and the Daredevil in battle, I think gives you a great representation from this. But again, just knowing you're getting an artist on a character that he's known for in his early infancy of drawing that character. And this is what gave Frank Miller all the notoriety in the Marvel offices as the next big star. I thought it was well bought, and I chased it a bit. Would love to have a page from either of the 2 issues, but hats off to the buyer. This is a good, solid representation of early Miller Daredevil, and Spidey thrown in as a bonus.
What did you stop at, out of curiosity?
I stopped at 35. I had some other priorities, but I actually thought it could have ended there if the economy or the market or people kind of ignored this. But not much Miller in this auction. But no, the buyers came and took it to a level that I wasn't comfortable paying. But I mean, obviously, it's deserving, given the historic nature of the page.
The funny thing is you hit 35. I must have hit 35,000 at one. And we probably both hit it when it was at 26,000 or whatever. And then
we were chasing. Somebody else came in.
Turned it up for 1 second, saying you're high bidder with like 3 seconds left, and I'm like, yes, I got it. All right. And then all of a sudden I get the you've been outbid, and it went for like what, 44,000 or something. What did it go for?
43.
Yep. So here's the crazy part about this. Everybody I talked to about this kept saying, oh, it's Frank Springer inks. It doesn't look that good. And I'm sitting there going, yes, I agree with you. It's terrible. Don't go after,
But I want it.
All kidding aside, I'm like, first of all, I think the page looks good. I really think the page looks good. We need a Dino seal of approval that can be awarded. There you go. I think the page looks really good. I think you're seeing what you got to keep in mind is that Peter Parker 27 and 28, those are the 2 issues that made Frank realize he loved Daredevil. When he first drew those 2 issues, that's why he told Shooter, I want to draw Daredevil. And Daredevil was on the verge of cancellation. I think it was even bi-monthly at the time.
That's right.
And it just was really, really great. And there are a lot of Frank Miller collectors that I know. And almost all of them said, yeah, above 25, I'm not going. One person said above 30, I'm not going. And, like I said, I thought I went to 28,888. Look, I do a lot of poker numbers too. I either do comic book numbers like, 337 or 33,700 for Walt Simonson Thor or whatever, right? So, but I did 28,888, and I was like, you know what? If this goes for 30, I'm going to kick myself. So I decided, all right, I'm going to do $35,001. At least if I lose it at that, even if it goes for $35,200 or whatever, at least I feel like I went the distance. And then when it went to 43, I was like, I should have.
Yeah. Well, the format again, my takeaway was when you have scarce items in ComicLink, it's that you have to put your bid in at the end. Typically, a lot of people do, and not chase it. But those are the ones that really can skyrocket. That's why that Jim Lee Wolverine Punisher page just went to the moon, because it was a gotta have it page for some loyal and eager collectors. And that's where the ComicLink's format really can push things to a surprising level, because you think you're going to win it at these small amounts, and all of a sudden you see it ends at some number. You go, oh my gosh, and then you kind of look back and you go, okay, no wonder. I mean, whoever wanted it got it, and heads up. But wow.
Well, here's the other thing that I'll add. I mean, Mark Fang make a comment. I don't know that that's accurate. I think Dino and our estimates are probably realistic. But as he was saying on the Punisher Wolverine cover, you couldn't.
It's back to scarcity and demand. How, like you guys said, how often do battle pages from those two books come up? Not often. So those numbers that you guys had, that was your comfort level. I mean,
that was our comfort level, right?
You were hoping they would end there, but that was your comfort zone, and
that's right.
Somebody's comfort zone was much higher.
And this is the first time I've seen a page come to auction from these two issues in like 7 years. I have not seen the page.
It doesn't come around, and to get Spidey and Daredevil.
Yeah,
I mean, you got the
costume. Yeah.
That second panel is amazing.
Next.
Yeah,
I'm going to talk about this for
Albert.
Next.
Yeah. So this one is the Journey into Mystery 124, Jack Kirby, a wonderful twice up Thor page. What is great is when you think about the early Thor run, this is before it turned into Thor Journey into Mystery, of course. Who are the key characters? Well, you have Thor, of course. You have Don Blake. You have Jane Foster. And then you have Odin, and then you have Loki. This one actually has 3 of those 4, and then you have that transformation in the middle. It just checks all the boxes. And Thor, of course, is in 4 panels with Blake and Foster and many of them, and then Odin in the bottom. I just thought, again, checking every box possible for a good early Thor page. This went for $13K, which I thought was light. I mean, I can see this easily as a $20,000 page on dealer site, and justifiably so. Again, it was. I think it got overlooked in a bit because there was just so much stuff in the auction, kind of that was just kind of interesting to look at, but not many Silver Age early Marvels, and this was one that I thought certainly caught my eye. I have my Thor page. I didn't need another one, but if I did, this would be one that certainly would be a prize. Well, I love the way that that 4th panel, the choice to put him in black with the transformation, as opposed to sometimes they do a dotted line outline where they make him really faint.
Right.
I like the choice of a bold, dark silhouette of Thor in those power rays. I thought that was brilliant.
Well, the one thing I'll say is that ComicLink has had those Ruby Spears Kirby pages, and I do think that the one thing is that they put so many of those in that it's easy to accidentally skip some of the Kirby stuff, because it's a good 20 minutes of Ruby
20
Spears.
Yeah, exactly. So many.
So I think that may have gotten missed because of that, because it is gorgeous and you can't buy everything, but this definitely is one that fell between the cracks. I mean, look, every auction has something that fell between the cracks, and that's what this page is.
Yeah, nope, I agree. I mean,
and that goes to the answer of why you can sell to a retailer, what we were talking about earlier, when you can get what you want and you can feel more reassured about it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on all points. I think that, I mean, sometimes you just don't know. I think your point about a lot of Kirby's in ComicLink auctions could hurt it. And again, that comes back to, as a consignor, you never know what your piece is going to be up against. So sometimes it is better to go to a dealer if you feel like you can get what you want to get out of a piece directly. So switching over here, we got this is the
Alan Davis, Excalibur. I don't own an Alan Davis page. I'd love to have an Excalibur version, but what I thought was great about this, just the striking image of Phoenix. And if you look at the smaller panels underneath, you actually see the whole team in there, which kind of is a great plus. Very well worthy. I've actually chased this thing 3 times. This is the 3rd time it's come to auction. I think it went for under $1,000 the first time, and then around 2.5 or 3,000 the last time, and this one I was just hoping to kind of go through the under the cracks at 4.5, 5,000, but it just squeaked by there. I didn't think I had a shot at it. I was looking at other things at the time, but what I do like about it is it's good early representation of Alan Davis, of course, famous for X-Men. I think with Excalibur, you're getting some of his prime material, and this one certainly stands out with the big Phoenix Firebird.
Hey guys, I wish I could blow this thing up. ComicLink just does really wacky
you can
stuff. You can't right click on anything the way they've got their pages coded. I wish I could scroll in or something, but I simply cannot. And yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's only that way on ComicLink. I can't do it. Tried. But yeah, this is a great piece. So it's come up before, and you haven't, and you missed out on those other opportunities. You know, it is.
Well, I remember it. I thought I checked it. I said I'll follow it. Maybe I wasn't going to bat for it, but at least I was interested to see how it performed. And a lot of interest in Excalibur, and Alan Davis has taken a new tick up, I think, based on the cover. His Excalibur 13 cover went for $90K, right? That's the one with the Deja Thoris, the Warlord homage. So that's starting to push up all the other stuff.
On it real quick.
No, well, I have it opens a new window, and it opens a new window that I can't like drop back into a tab.
No problem. You could see it. You could see it. It's just it's a full edge to edge.
It is gorgeous. I mean, yeah, I'd have to do this. The only thing I can do. Well, no, I can't even do that. It's
no, that's all right.
It's a pain in the butt. I hate to say it. I love ComicLink's website, but their large image feature just does not.
It doesn't.
It's not conducive to allowing us to share the bigger images. So apologize for that. All right, and then over to this What If page, one for $3,600, and it's Buckler McLeod.
Yeah, this I thought was interesting to look at because Buckler's Saga of the Swamp Thing hammered for like 12,000 cover, one of the covers in a recent Heritage auction. This was a What If that that told of the origin of you'll show the image, Bill, but it showed the origin of Submariner. Submariner is going to be what's introduced in the MCU with Black Panther. Here you have him talking about Atlantis and his hatred for the surface men and vengeance, and you have the Watcher looking at it. But look at that dramatic image. I thought this was really a great page for someone hunting for a good, solid, vintage 70s. Submariner piece. I think it's 3,600. It actually topped what most people would feel, a What If by Buckler page would be. But I think the quality of the image will kind of justify that level. I probably would have put the value at around 3K, but I could easily see because of that last panel for a Submariner fan. I mean, if Buckler covers from the Saga are going for 12K, this is certainly deserving of 3,600.
Alberto, we're going to get to all of the auctions, all three of them. We're just doing it in order of auction. Yeah. So once we're done all the comic links, then we'll talk about Heritage and ComicConnect. So we're going to cover all of them, buddy. I actually thought this page was going to be somewhere between $1,500 and $1,800. So once it broke 2,000, I just thought, as much as I love it, and Submariner is one of my two favorite Marvel characters. Yeah. All I would do which I'm sure that the consigner would have been happy if I did this, and ComicLink would have been happy. But all I would have done was just jack up the price and still lose it at that point. So I threw in the towel.
Well, it's a great page, and a strong price. I agree with you, Nick. I would have thought it would have been in that range too, but you never can tell. I always wonder about What If pages if they're stymied because they're not really canon, and sometimes they seem to be, but clearly not in this case.
Buckler went by Rick or Rich at different times. I mean, mostly Rich Buckler, but he did go by Rick a few times, so it is odd.
Yeah.
And the Bill Everett pages are hard to come by, Knights of Old. Very hard.
Yeah, they
good luck to that.
All right, so I've got 5 comic links, but only 3 Heritage when we get to that. Maybe I'll just roll into my Heritage and then we'll swing back the other way.
Okay.
All right, so my first piece was the Gil Kane, John Romita, Amazing Spidey 123 page. This one finished at what, $33,600, and decent action on bids, 83 bids. Just, for me, I've always liked Kane's work, and I thought this was a pretty fair, to strong price for this piece. I mean, it's usually when you get, Ramita helping out, he's doing faces and other things, but with this piece, I just feel like, this is gorgeous all around. I thought the action on the page was good, and and I've always been a huge Power Man fan, so I felt like as a page, with Luke Cage on it, this was a good one to get. I mean, because you get him with battling Spidey at the same time. So yeah, so I wanted to pick this one because it came. To be honest with you,
I will say 2 comments on this. First and foremost, Luke Cage appearances outside of Heroes for Hire and even early Heroes for Hire command a premium no matter what. For some reason, there are fans that really want these early Luke Cage appearances, and they pay a premium. And this is beautiful. I think this was still a strong price, even with the Luke Cage factoring in. But Kane Ramita, gorgeous. But this, I think, went for more than that Spider-Man page with Gwen and Mary Jane in Heritage like 6 months ago.
Right.
So that is, again, a really strong price.
It surprised me. I actually pegged it, and again, I was just looking at it as a pure Spider-Man page. With you look, he only appears in three panels. I was thinking low 20s, but again, as you mentioned, with Ramita inking, and you have the iron with Power Man in there, for the right buyer, it could jump.
All right. Next up, I picked a Long Halloween page by Tim Sale, and this one went for just under $20,000. I mean, we've been seeing a fair number of Tim's artwork come up to market, and the prices have been kind of all over the board, right? I think in one of the last Heritage Signature auctions, we saw some pages that were under $3,000, but other pages that were in that same auction sell for around $20,000, and so this one finished in that $20,000 range. But great imagery in here. I think that Tim's work is just unlike any other artist that's out there, and now that we don't have him with us, and to create great works like this, we're going to continue to see the Tim Sale market continue to rise, and I just thought this was a really nice piece, and definitely deserving of the price that it ended at. Even though I'm not a Batman collector, and I don't follow that, I follow his Marvel work more than I follow his DC sales, so it seemed like a strong price to me. Or that central, like Mr. Ezekiel, like you said, that central panel is all you need.
Solid, yeah,
very, very solid.
It's gorgeous.
All right, now I'll move quickly on mine. So next up is the Dazzler versus Hulk cover, and we mentioned the Dazzler cover earlier, and this one went for just under $15,000. Had 91 bids, so a lot of action on it. You had the Incredible Hulk on it. Frank Springer, we talked about Frank Springer earlier too. He was a Dazzler artist for I'm not sure how many issues, but I know my page from around this issue was by Frank as well. But again, this was a piece I wasn't quite sure where it was going to end up at. I was thinking more something closer to 10. So at close to 15 seemed like a good price. You basically get 4 Dazzlers on the cover. I didn't really think about it like that, but I mean, a nice piece by Springer here, and you get the Hulk. I mean, Dazzler was always fighting odd characters, right, in those early books. So this was a funny story, and again, decent price on this one.
Yeah, I think Springer did about 14 issues.
Okay.
I do like the motion capture of the Dazzler. These early issues were kind of wild because you had her facing like a rollerblade team, Galactus in one, and then here you have the Hulk one. But I actually thought this was a great cover. I was surprised at 14. I thought it was a good value. I bought this one.
You did?
I needed a Dazzler cover.
Congrats.
And I like the fact that with the Hulk there, it kind of gave it some singular interest as one of her kind of battle covers, and nice image of Dazzler. I got 4 of them on the cover. So yeah,
I need to be more like Dino. I needed a Dazzler cover, so I got it. No, but all kidding aside, this was in the low range of fair. I could have seen this cover go for 20 to 25 just because the Hulk's on it.
Okay.
It's just I could if there was a lot of heavy people going for it, but I mean it's still a good price. Don't get me wrong, it is still a good price, but that is one of the better Dazzler covers just because of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought I paid up. I went for the number I put in was a little higher, but like I also like the fact that Dazzler has a tie-in to the X-Men and a chance to be in as they come into the MCU. I think the nostalgia for characters like her is still pretty strong. So I do have a JRJR splash, but cover would be obviously an interesting addition.
Well,
yeah,
you did well.
This is gorgeous. You did great, and it's definitely a keeper, no doubt about it. After all, the ladies got guts.
Indeed.
That's right.
So then next up, my pick was John Buscema, Rudy Nebris, Epic Illustrated page, and colored by Rudy. This one went for just under $9,600. And on this one, I was curious what you guys thought. I mean, do you think the Rudy's work on there kind of held the price back? I mean, it's such a great image of Surfer, but then I was wondering if because I sort of was thinking this might go a little bit higher than that, but I don't know. I mean, it's not. I don't follow the Cosmic pages too often, but I figured Nick.
I love the panels. I mean, I did talk to two prominent surfer collectors about it. I think the interest kind of waned because it was an Epic magazine, and then you have the coloring of the book. So it didn't really, or the page, it didn't really fit with their existing black and white collections.
Mm-hmm.
But no doubt the panel, especially that first and second one, was pretty strong.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was pretty interesting. I didn't know. I think the values of Nebris were in the single, 5 to 6 range. When you look at some of his magazine stuff, I think there was some stuff in the recent Heritage. But for a surfer page, I had no idea how it would go. But neither of the two collectors were really interested in moving.
Got it.
Well, also Rudy isn't somebody you think of when it comes to inking Buscema. So let's take the coloring aspect out of it right now. If you look at that bottom panel and you're seeing the pain in Surfer's face, but if that would have been inked by Dan Atkins or by even Sal, it would look, I don't want to say, it would have looked a little bit less human, like it would still have been more metallic. There is a little bit of an overwhelming of the inks right there. And then once you put that and you couple that with the coloring, then it's going to pull it back. I mean, I think if this is the page I'm remembering, this sold only a year ago privately for $7,000. So getting around 10,000 now, that's a good pickup in value.
Sure.
Not bad. And I think that some of the prime surfer material, you want those classic space panels and the black and white imagery of the white surfer against the black starry background. That's the classic blue chip look. And so colors, while they may be popular for some, may enhance when you talk about Spider-Man or some other characters, when it comes to Surfer, it may be harder to digest because it takes away from that really solid black and white imagery that we've all grown to love.
That was kind of what I was thinking too. Yeah. I mean, the Nebris inks aside, I thought the color kind of threw me a bit. That I think if it was in black and white, that it might have been perceived a little bit differently.
And real quick, Jeffrey Moy, Nebris on Buscema or anybody on Conan or Red Sonja, totally different. That I can absolutely see it commanding a higher price. It's also about the character. We know what Conan would look like by Buscema, what Conan would look like by Nebris. So that combo would be different than on Silver Surfer. I think on Silver Surfer, we're just used to some of the, not slicker, but some of the inkers that inked Buscema on the Avengers or on the Silver Surfer initial series. So it's just a matter of the character as well as the art. And again, the coloring probably pushed it back a bit.
All right, so here's my last pick from ComicLink. It's a Cockrum, Wyachek, Ms. Marvel, 20-page. This was a splash. I know, what did it go for? I should have checked that. $6,400, 57 bids on it. For me, I mean, I love both Cockrum and Wyachek. I mean, regardless of what titles they worked on, but I thought when I saw this one, I thought somebody's going to go more like 10 on this thing, because it's a very memorable issue. The costume that I think a lot of people who are fans of Miss Marvel like, and you get Cockrum working on it, just edge to edge art on this thing. It's just gorgeous. So I was thinking this one was going to go a little bit higher. And I mean, shoot, at $6,400, I think I should have been interested in it, because I've always wanted a Dave Cockrum Miss Marvel page, because there's not a ton out there, but this is a splash. And this is a splash, and it went for $6,400. So, I mean, I think whoever got it. To me, that seems like a good deal, because I was thinking it was going to go at least to 10. Not probably over that, but again, just a really great image, and from an issue of Miss Marvel that I always enjoyed. I mean, it was just a weird characters for her to be battling against, but anyway, so that was just my take on it. A great image at any rate. Bob's inks are always fantastic, and this is a great combo to here and there. Wingo says a steal for sure as well. Yep, that was how I felt about it.
Yeah, I had a range of, I thought this would be more in the 8,500 to 12,000 range.
Mm-hmm.
I thought somebody would probably go 8,500, thinking, okay, it's like paying $7,000 plus buyer's premium on Heritage. And I thought it could go as high as 12, $10,000. I was thinking about this page. How much would I go plus the buyer's premium? I could see it go for a minimum of, so 7 to 10 plus buyer's premium is the way I looked at this page, because it is so beautiful. It's like, how high would somebody go? And I agree. Right. I really thought this would go for more. Still a good price, but
yeah.
But compared to everything else,
right,
in isolation, a really good price. Compared
You're right.
To high levels of bidding, one of the things that maybe slipped a little bit between the cracks.
All right, so those were our ComicLink picks. So since I'm up, I'll just go ahead and roll right into my Heritage picks. And
something small here.
I know I went for the big one. Now, this was not the image on the cover of the guide that they put out. I mean, I'm not sure if Heritage going into it thought the other image was maybe better, or or what was what the focus was on there. But this was it's Perez, and this. I mean, Nick, you could talk more about the piece probably than I can, but as a DC fan. But I mean, I love this image by Perez. I mean, I didn't really have any thoughts going into the auction what I felt this cover or the other one was going to go for, but I wasn't thinking 288. I mean, I was thinking something more like maybe 100,000 less than that. And I thought that might have been a good spot, but I mean, it is JLA 195, just a very classic image. I mean, I remember seeing this on the newsstands, even though I wasn't buying it. But I mean, where were you thinking this was going to end up, Nick?
So this and the 207 and the Dr. Fate were the point of many, many, many discussions leading to the auction. You have no idea how many collectors.
I can only imagine.
It must have been drooling over.
I spoke with. So this is historic on a lot of levels. If you're a DC fan, you'll get a lot of this. If you're not a DC fan, this may be meaningless to you. But this was the first reappearance of the Ultra Humanite from like his first appearance since like Action Comics number 14. You've even got this great page of where the Signal or somebody says, we're taking orders from an ape. And Ragman says, watch your tongue. I forget the Ultra Humanite's name, but he says his mind has been equal to that of Alexi Luthor's when they called Lex Luthor Alexi Luthor back in the day. everybody wondered if this was going to, how much over 100 grand it would go. Would it be 100 plus juice, 110, 120? I think that the topped out bid most of us thought it would go for was 180, and that's if it had a lot of people interested. And I know 2 people that were going after this that would not back down from each other. So, and by the way, neither one of them won it. The 2 people that were not willing to back down did not win it. It is absolutely a memorable story. This is my favorite Earth 1, Earth 2 JLA story from the original run. It is gorgeous, and I am really fortunate that I got interior pages on this when I did. People were laughing at me back in 2016-17. I was paying $1,500 for pages from this issue because I really wanted them. And now that this cover, I mean, it blew everybody's mind. It really blew everybody's mind with that price. I mean, you got to think about it. Not only was it $288,000, but no, unless you live in Delaware or Texas, is it Texas? Unless you live in one of the few states you're not paying sales tax, add another $20,000 to $30,000 for sales tax. Wow. So unless you live in Delaware or wherever else, there's no sales tax. I don't know. Is there sales tax in Florida? I'm trying to remember.
Florida's not. No. Right.
It's over 300 grand. I mean, this was huge. And it's probably one of the books that cemented Perez with a lot of collectors.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly iconic. I'm no JLA expert, but I love the fact that, to me, when I saw this cover, it echoed one of his later Infinity Gauntlet covers, where he shows X's on all the Marvel characters that were killed in the snap. The Infinity Gauntlet cover, it went much later in the early '90s, went for like 60 or 70,000. So this is 4 times that amount. But this is prime. This is kind of what people told me. This is what you think about when you talk about Perez JLA run. It's one of the most memorable ones. So,
yeah, it's Christopher Daly. Only I care about the Ultra Humanite. But this is what we were talking about at the beginning of the video, where this cover probably never would have come out if it wasn't for how high prices were. And I would be stunned if the person who consigned this thought that it was going to break $150,000.
No matter what it would be, I thought, like, when you consign a piece like this, particularly with ComicLink, you could negotiate to get the cover of the catalog, right? And with Heritage, and I think they gave it to the other Perez piece, which is interesting. So had this been the cover, it may have drawn a few more interested parties.
The one thing I'll say is I think that almost all the art from this auction came from one collection, and for whatever reason, Heritage did not call that out because there was too much Spectre, too much Dr. Strange, Dr. Fate. Was so much art that fell in, and a lot of JSA JLA art. So I think, you look just at JSA JLA 20, Justice League 21 and 22. You had 10 pages from those 2 issues. So this had to come from one collection. So Alaska, Delaware, New Hampshire. Okay. Oh, okay. So only 5 states. So the 5 states. So unless you lived in those 5 states, but if you don't live in those 5 states, you paid over 300 grand. But I think this was almost all, if not all, one consigner.
Wow.
Unlike Harlan Ellison, but again, this is supposition on my part and other collectors' parts that I spoke with. And there has been lots of guesses. Is this from the Jerry Bales collection? Is this from this person's collection? Is it from that person's collection? I don't know. But when you see that you've got so much Dr. Fate, so much Spectre, so much JSA from All-Star Comics and Justice League, it's your guess is as good as anybody's. And keep in mind, the art alone took in over $2 million, and the auction over 2 days, I believe, took in over $4 million. But as Jeffrey Moy said, Nick talks too much. Next.
But yeah, I can say that I saw the same things, that Christopher Daly mentioned, that Mitch said that, having sold probably a lot of these pieces, he did mention that a lot of this came from the same consigner. And I remember that as far as the marketing for that auction went, this was, I think, the first auction exclusively curated by Joe Maddalena too. So there was, and he's been with them for a few years. So this was the first auction where he kind of brought it all together. So probably at least half of the art was from one seller. So next up, this was the Neil Adams, Dick Giordano World's Finest 201 cover, and it went for, it's funny, again, we were just looking at the Perez. I mean, and now this is like a classic Adams piece that sells for 1/3 the price at $90,000. I mean, this is, a great image. A very memorable image even for me. But it's, it's amazing seeing. I wouldn't call it a disparity, right? There's a lot of artwork out by both Adams and Perez. But a classic cover like this, going for 1/3 of the other one, it just shows you, where people's hearts are when it comes to, and where they feel the market is for particular pieces. The difference between the first piece and the second one. That's why I actually picked this cover. I could have picked a few other pieces, but I just thought it was interesting to look at the Perez first and then the Adams.
Well, here's a funny thing about this cover, Bill. So when I said I was I was either texting, emailing, or on the phone. I was talking to Kevin Brogan. I was talking to Dan Jurgens. I was talking to Will. I was talking to Michael Lovitz. We're literally just corresponding about every piece. And this piece actually gave us all solace that maybe there was auction-itis where pieces would be going for reasonable prices. Because the estimate of this one, everybody thought it would break $100,000, and we thought there would. First of all, this is a strong price. Do not get me wrong. This is an incredibly strong price at $90,000. But everybody thought that this was going to be the doorbuster that might get to 120 to 150. And when people saw it go for 90, we were like, oh, okay, maybe this will be a more, like we've got a plateau here. We finally hit. And I will tell you, it was not to be. It was not to be. It went for a great price, but it was not. It was the calm before the storm. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I think also Adams, going alphabetically. I think people hold their dry powder for later in the auction. I thought it was another example where an Adams page, could have gone for much more, but didn't because of the sequence in the auction.
Right.
Adams is known for drawing Superman and drawing Green Lantern. Those covers are rare, trying to get it from the main title. So here's a chance to get something that's just, again, prime Adams, right? So,
yeah. No, this is a great piece, and this is another one that would have been worthy of the heritage cover to the book.
Very true. All right, so my next piece, this was that Grell All-Star Comics 58. Oh, gosh, I picked all DC from Heritage. That's weird. This is my last Heritage pick, by the way, too. And again, I went with a cover. Again, I thought, now this one's at $168, almost $170,000 for the piece. And again, I hate to say it, I didn't read the description, so I don't know the significance. But again, I was looking at the three covers, just thinking that, where was this one, Nick? And where were you thinking this piece was going to wind up?
I'll put it to you this way, and Marcus, please fact check me on this. But this was another one that was a big conversation. This went for 6 times more than the highest Grell cover any of us remember. The highest Grell cover any of us remember is the Warlord cover in ComicLink that went. And Dino, didn't you win that?
I did.
Yeah, but that was iconic. Nobody thought that this would exceed that by so much. What did you win that at? Like 25?
26. Again, Grell is known for Warlord, but this I think was historic because this was the first Silver Age appearance of the GL.
It's the first JSA. It's issue 58, picking up where 57
since
left
51.
off. Yeah. It's the first Power Girl, so it's a first appearance. The only thing I'm saying is you bought the most iconic Warlord image ever. That cover is the most. It was on T-shirts. It was on posters. It was everywhere. The going into this, we were all predicting 50 to 70. That's the range we were predicting. Like first Power Girl, All Star Comics picks up 50 to 70. That sounds reasonable. The fact that this broke 100 is unbelievable. The fact that it went to 168, I will tell you, this made me feel really good about one of the things I won in this auction that we'll talk about later.
Right. But to get to 168, you have 2, maybe 3 bidders that are taking it to that 150 and above. So,
yep.
Certainly strong
because
demand.
The other only close piece by Grell was a Green Lantern Green Arrow 110 cover that sold in 2021 for 26,400. So yeah, I mean, this is, as far as Grell artwork is an incredible precedent. Yeah, I would never have guessed that it was going to go anywhere near this. So good. Well, all right. So there you go. That's why 3 DC covers from you. So let's go ahead and switch over to you, Nick. And let me stop that one and move myself over
He's
here.
licking his chops, this DC heavy auction.
No, listen, this auction
I can't wait, Nick. Go get him.
Dream.
Yeah.
And a nightmare if you didn't win anything. So,
That's right.
to me, this was one of the 2 most beautiful pieces in the auction. Not only is it incredibly well drawn, it's Earth 3. It's all those heads are drawn by George. I was praying this would go for under 100. I went up to 80 plus cut bid, I think, and threw in the towel at that point because that put me over 98. And I can't even remember if my cut bid actually made it or if I got out cut bid. But this is so beautiful. This and the Walt Simonson Dr. Fate, to me, hands down, everything was great in this auction, but this was absolutely stunning. I think I know who won this, and it's a great consolation prize because they went for the 195 as well. But wow. I told everybody, if I have a choice, the 195 was more meaningful to me because of what the story was. But the 207 was more beautifully drawn. And I prayed that the 207 would go for less. And it did, just not less enough. There's something that happened to Perez. Perez was great, but something happened with JLA 200 where everything got more defined with him. Some of the imperfections you saw between JLA 186 to the first half of JLA 197, because he didn't draw the second half of 197. Those little imperfections that were there, something happened when he came to JLA 200 and 200 and up, and this cover is just freaking stunning. And oh my God, what a price. I mean,
I was impressed with this. Just, I mean, price aside, you look, Perez is known for his detail, and you look at this, the way he draws leather and he draws the costumes, the fact that the heads on the sides and bottoms aren't just drawn straight ahead, they're actually tilted with some shoulder detail, I think is just him showing off, really showing what he can do as an artist. And you see a lot of those press covers where all the figures are kind of overlapping, and this one's so clean with the battle line drawn in the center of the cover. I love the composition. I just wanted to point that out. I had no clue what it would go for market, but I was impressed with Perez's detail just to make it extra special.
Agreed.
Yeah, that is interesting, Dino. I didn't even think about that. Usually you get the classic; they're all in the same profile, either they're straight on.
And it's just the head, the face,
right?
And sometimes it's stats.
That's interesting. Yeah, so you're right. He was flexing his muscles.
He was just showing off.
Yeah, he was showing off. All right, and we got the Giffen, and Dr. Fate. This one went for $3,360.
I thought this one fell between the cracks. I could not believe it. I was talking to Will, and I did a trade with Will where he got one of my Maguire Justice League covers so that I can get an Invaders Gil Kane cover with Submariner and Human Torch. And when this came up, Will just, we talked about it, and he said, "Go for it, Nick. I know you really want it." And I'm like, "All right, I'll go up to 6,000." And I couldn't believe what this went for. So this was the probably the biggest fall between the cracks in the entire auction compared to what the value is, because McGuire and Giffen Justice League does really well. And I get it. You're not seeing a lot of facial expressions like you would in most of the other panel pages. But if you look at what the panel pages went for in previous auctions, this is a steal.
Yeah,
so I got lucky.
congratulations.
I got
Good for
really
you,
lucky
Nick.
on this.
Yeah, and I think there were other pieces that kind of seemed to fall a little bit short, but they were all kind of in this range. They were those pieces that were ending in the 3 to 6 range. But this is a great pickup, Nick. Really, I mean, it doesn't matter that you don't get a lot of classic faces on this one. It's still a gorgeous image, and congrats. And again, that's a wonderful price for that too.
Now, I won this as well, and I went after it because of the Brainwave appearance and because it had Golden Age Flash and Golden Age Green Lantern. But I also hit it because it says Estrada and Wally Wood. But
wow.
This is almost all Wally Wood. I think Estrada did the lightest of layouts and Wood really draw this. And I'm sitting there. I put in that last bid, and I'm like, do I really want to go this high? It's like, you know what? You'll regret it. You got Wood, you got Flash, you got Green Lantern, you got the first Brainwave. Come on, Brainwave Jr. and Infinity Inc. Just do it. So I went for this, and this was under Giffen. And when the Grell went for 160,000, I was like, oh yeah, I got a good deal. But I was like, literally, I'm like edging up. I'm like, oh, mother, stop. I'm like, okay, one last time. And you're sitting there like, oh, I think I just overpaid for this. And then I was like, oh yeah, I did well. Never mind.
So this tells me that, as a collector, if you have a knowledge of the significance of issues and the progression of artists and which characters have lives beyond them. You mentioned Brainwave goes into Infinity. That's where you really score value, and you're able to really gauge, what to go after. I think knowing that Wood had done a majority of the art on the page is a plus. I mean, it was sequenced under Giffen, but none of the Giffen collectors may not necessarily have emphasized the Wally Wood inks, which by all means, it makes the page infinitely more valuable.
Yeah, and it was just it's something. Bill and I actually touched on this last night. There's 4 regrets in buying original art, and the last one is buying the art. Not buying the art is the biggest regret. And that's really the way I looked at it, saying, and the other thing is that, some of the art dealers have been selling panel pages for $7,000 and $8,000 that are pencils by, and only inks by Wood. This is mostly Wood.
Right.
So I felt a little bit more comfortable. But like I said, once that Grell price got realized, I was like, oh yeah, I did well on this.
Awesome.
Well, this was one auction I know where you had to be on the edge of your seat for much of the auction, right? Because this is such a rare thing to have so much great DC artwork in there, and and I know that that's a sweet spot for you, Nick. So I just can't imagine what that was like for you, the whole time during this auction.
It was sitting there and just saying, it was. There's solace in saying, I know I got to stay away from this art because you can't go after everything, and that might be the thing with the Adams, like everybody said. Adams was early, and you don't want to overspend because you're like looking through the entire auction. I mean, I didn't pick the Dr. Fate Giffen pages from the Flash backup stories, but those went for more money than I thought they would. And I kept pushing that button it's just like, as much as I wanted a Giffen Dr. Fate page from the back, I just said, you know what? I can't go after it. There's more to come. I got to be careful. And so this was definitely the big reincarnation of the Spectre coming into the Silver Age. This was historic and
Huge piece.
Yeah.
huge. And I think it went for the right price. You know,
It's twice up too, I think, which lends its value.
At 120.
100%.
Yeah.
I would have been surprised. I mean, 120 is a strong price. I would have been surprised if it didn't break 100 after Juice. That would have been my only surprise on this, because that is a strong price, but it's a well-deserved price.
And for this guy, and I'll talk about more Spectre stuff, because I think it's important to discuss the tiering of artists as you look at the Spectre issues.
I did skip over one of yours, Nick. I apologize. This was the Dr. Fate by Simonson.
Yeah.
The Fate Surfer.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. There we go.
This is the other piece that I thought this and the JLA 207 were my two favorite pieces. Now, this is Dr. Fate in 1975 from the first issue special, but this is Walter inking Walter. And what you're seeing here is the Walter you start seeing in Thor 337. You are seeing all him. You're seeing the beautiful John Workman letters. You have it all. And I talked to Kevin Brogan. I talked to Dan Jurgens. I talked to a few people on this. There were three of us that stepped aside for one collector. And even the one collector that went for it was the underbidder. And he just felt like no matter how many more times he hit that button, the person he was up against would continue hitting that button. And he said, maybe if I would have hit it one more time, maybe 40,000 with Juice is the top the other person could do. But he said, even at that price, it's higher than my comfort level. And, when I say that the biggest regret is not winning a piece, when you start getting into stratospheric numbers like this, like the JLA 207 or the 195, then you can't regret not getting it. It's like the Peter Parker 28 Frank Miller page. I went high enough that I didn't regret not winning it, because at least I gave it my all. But this is gorgeous. This is so freaking beautiful. And whoever won this, congratulations. You got one of the two, artistically speaking, in my opinion, one of the two best pieces in the auction. So congrats to whoever won it.
Right. And again, something really rare. Walter on Walter, that's actually out in the market. It's practically unheard of. So no, this is it's gorgeous.
And I agree, Christopher Daly. This is a top 5 Dr. Fate piece of all time.
All right. Let me switch over here to you, Dino.
So we'll go back to the Spectre, I believe. This is, I pull that up. This is the Adventure 439, page 1 splash by Jim Aparo. It features the Spectre. I think the collectors will look at this result at 57,000. That's half of the Murphy Anderson twice up Spectre cover. But this at 57, it was higher than the Neil Adams Spectre cover of 1968, which is actually earlier, a more notable artist, and it was a cover. And then you had some other Spectre covers that were in the kind of teens, and so how do you make a sense of the market? And there was another Aparo cover that went for 19 with Spectre. So what happens here? So again, just what I've learned is that Aparo's run in 75, he did 10 issues from Adventure Comics, were considered his coming out party in terms of the character, in terms of the popularity. And I think it resonates so well with readers that it is in such high demand. We've seen a couple of full stories come out, full 10-page stories come out that were 6-figure pieces. This one hitting 57 is certainly a strong price. I actually thought it would be kind of high 40s, maybe. I knew it was going to be kind of above 40 because of the demand, but the rarity of one of these Aparo adventure comic Spectre pages, much less a splash, was irresistible to certainly the buyer. And I thought it was just curious that it would outperform the Neil Adams Spectre cover, which again, it's just, I remember reading that run and I thought that was great. But I think people just have to realize that these Aparo adventure Spectre examples are just so rare in the market, but also so highly valued because of the stories that really gave Spectre the character and popularity that it enjoyed for over a decade, really in its peak through I think it was, starting in the mid 80s, it kind of fell off when he was retired, but that's the peak. I mean, so if you want to have a plus Aparo Spectre piece, it's this run that you want to look for. And if you're trying to get a page, you need to be prepared to pay up because they're hoarded by collectors that love this series.
You're right. I mean, Adventure Comics 431 to 440. There's two runs of Aparo covers that collectors are dying to get. It's Adventure Comics 431 to 440, with 440 being the car scene where Aparo goes to grab the car, where Spectre goes to grab the car, which was also an artistic reinterpretation of the story where the Spectre steps on a car in the Golden Age. So those 10 covers are incredibly well regarded. I had 2 of them, and actually this was the cover that Rob Hughes had on his Grail list that I worked out a deal with him because it meant so much to him. So the covers are well regarded, just like the 600-page Detective Comics covers that Jim did. They are considered to be prime Aparo, and the interiors. There's a few More Fun 54. There you go. There's a few complete issues of the Adventure Comics Spectre that are in collections that are either not coming out anytime soon or just, I mean, Albert just won the last complete story.
Yeah, that's right. Heritage.
Yeah. And this is put it this way. This splash went for more than the cover I did the deal with Rob Hughes on. So it's just great. You've got a huge Spectre. You've got the snakes. I mean, it is gorgeous.
No arguments for me. I can't add anything to this, unfortunately. Being a Marvel collector, Aparo is just somebody whose work I've only in the last 10 years really gotten to appreciate. Once I got over collecting, initially all the Marvel X-Men stuff that I wanted and some Thor stuff, then I got turned on to Aparo since I wasn't a DC reader. But it's gorgeous stuff here.
And Marcus brings up a really good point.
Let's see, what was that? Which one?
He's still ribbing me on the Brave and the Bold.
The Brave and the Bold, is that the one? Yes, you're never going to live that one down.
No.
Man,
but maybe if Marcus keeps bringing it up, whoever has it will finally approach me.
That's true. That is very true.
Give me 1 second.
Sure. So I totally.
I chose this one because I think there's a lot of collectors understand that there's a series of Rocketeers that Dave Stevens, who's known for this. It started as 1982 with his Rocketeer publication. Then it went to this special edition in 1984. So this was the second iteration. Then it went Rocketeer Volume 2 in 89, and then Cliff's Adventure in 96. And everybody who'd want a Stevens Rocketeer page, you'd have to remember that because the earlier ones tend to be more valuable, as well as if you get a Betty Page, you almost double the page in value because of the premium there. So this one at $34,000, I thought was a very strong price. You do have Rocketeer appearing in a number of panels, but it isn't as some of the big action ones that you've seen where he's in a fight scene, for example. I would have put this one at around 25 to 30. But obviously the rarity of Rocketeer and again, Stevens is not producing anymore given his early passing. It just has such a strong demand for collectors wanting to get it. But I think what people thought, I thought it would maybe go under the radar with a special edition. When you hear that, you kind of think the trade paperback or something later. This was actually the second Rocketeer publication under the Stevens banner after the original '82 Rocketeer. So it's quite early in his cycle, and you can see his inking here is peak. And this is kind of what you want when you're looking for a prime Stevens Rocketeer.
Well, the amazing thing about the Rocketeer is a few years ago, the Stevens estate sold a lot of the Rocketeer art. And what it sold at was considered a fairly good premium.
Correct.
And even with a good amount of art coming out, it was considered at a premium, but the market absorbed it all. And I don't think anyone would have guessed that this would have been a $30,000 page going into the auction. So this just reset the value of all.
It does, no doubt. No gun, no Betty. So quite a healthy price.
Yep. For a panel page, incredibly healthy price.
So this is Heath, Our Army at War, number 80, first page splash, hammered for 7,800. There were half a dozen Heath pages in the auction. I think this was viewed as the kind of prime one of the ones that were there. I think you have that plane battle scene. I don't, I couldn't really judge whether 7,800 was high or low. I just know that they don't come to market in kind of this number in an auction. I like this panel that Bill's highlighting. I think it really shows the intensity of this dogfight. And I think if you're going to go after a Heath page, I mean, this was justifiably the highest price of the six that were in the auction. But what a great example. So that's what I'll say. I mean, if this were twice up, it would be a 10,000 plus page. But again, given it's 10 by 15, I think it limited its value. But you get some great panels, good fight scenes, and for a Russ Heath collector, you must have been just salivating knowing that there's a number of good pieces in one auction.
Absolutely, and Russ Heath War. There's a good amount out there, but this was a really good price. Knights of Old has a question, Bill, if you want to pop that up.
Mm-hmm.
Knights of Old, a lot of Golden Age art was destroyed, thrown out, given away to kids visiting the DC offices for free. They were chopped into thirds, which is why you'll see a lot of third pages out there, and then destroyed, but some people snuck them out. So there's very few Golden Age covers that have surfaced. So, but this was a great pick. This is one I would have picked if you didn't pick it first, Dino.
Yeah, I saw this one as well. We're actually going to get a complete Heath War book flip from Steve Crozier on the CAF update 2 weeks from now.
And happy birthday to Steve today.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
So this is a Dick Dillon JLA 91 page for, when I saw this in the auction, I thought this is one of those unicorn pages. If you look at the page, the layout, it's kind of a splash. You have the two worlds, Earth 1 and Earth 2 at top. Again, a good ode to the kind of the alternate JLA worlds. You have the Justice Society of America, all the key characters down there, and it's a roll call page. So notice you see the name and the secret identity. You have all the characters in great images, again, full figure, in action. It was I love this page, and I'm not a big Dillon collector. I'm not a DC specialist, but I thought, this is a unicorn page. This is something that you would be very proud to own, and I guess for the price, I thought it was a steal. $5,000 for this. When you see some average Dillons going $2,500, this is remarkable.
I agree wholeheartedly, and I was fortunate enough to win this. So,
Nick,
Congrats, Nick.
Congratulations.
Yeah, no, you have the Justice Society here. You've got Flash, Green Lantern. You've got Dillon, one of my all-time favorite artists. And, for pure Dillon Justice Society, I I couldn't believe my luck. I really could not believe. I thought this was. I put in a few bids and thinking, all right, if it goes for under 8,000, I'm in, and it went really affordably. What did it go for?
5,000, 550, 40, I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just couldn't believe I won this. I was amazed. So yeah, I guess there were a few pages that slipped between the cracks. It's we get so monofocused on the big numbers, we miss the ones that fall between the cracks. But this and the Dr. Fate McGuire Giffen were two that definitely fall between the cracks, and I got really lucky on both of them.
I didn't even say that bottom panel. You have the Golden Age splash and the other. I mean, you have the additional characters. Just Hawkman. I mean, it really rounds out that page. Congratulations.
Thank you. Really, really lucky.
Well, see, this was an auction that was tailored for you, Nick.
Yes, it was
in many ways. So yeah, that's fantastic. And that actually rounds out our heritage picks. So we're over to ComicConnect now here, and I had a feeling I was gonna get that. So I as everybody knows, ComicConnect likes to log us out when you don't do anything on their pages for too long. I don't know why, but it's a feature. So let's go over here. Now this one I can.
I guess that's me.
Yes.
Do I start this?
Yes.
Okay, so this is Ross Andru, ASM 158, page 17. One of the strongest Andrew Spider-Man pages I've seen. I think in the 3 years ago there was a $19,000 page, battle page, Spidey versus some other character, not a big character, not a big villain. And then there was a $22,000 page Spider-Man that he had. It was a Green Goblin reference, one panel. Mm-hmm. This is classic Spidey Doc Ock. I love how he leaps out of the breaks the fourth wall in the third panel. It's just constant battle, like Doc Ock against Spider-Man. I think what we're seeing here, again, 33,000. Make no mistake, it deserved to be the high watermark for an Andrew ASM interior battle page. I think we're starting to see this tiering where you've always had the Ditko, then Romita, and then Kane, Andrew, in certain proportions based on A-level material. I think with everything moving up, you can't help but seeing these Andrew ASM pages move up as well. And I think, when you think about where Ditko has gone and then where Romita has gone, I just think that this is people looking for those that may be priced out of those two artists. Now they want to get one of the best pages from the next tier of artists, the Kane or the Andrews. And this is what you'll have to do to get a page like this. I think this is one of the ones that also came out of someone's collection for sale because of they knew the demand was there. And then what this says in the future is that next level under that, the Alex Saviuk's and et cetera, those will start accelerating in value as well.
And those already have.
And they already have.
Look, this is the classic Doc Ock marries Aunt May. So, it's a favorite. It's a favorite storyline. So it's a strong price. It definitely went for more than I thought it would. So, congrats to the consignor, but congrats to the winner because these are only going to go up.
Yeah, I was trying to do some quick searches on Ross Andru interiors from Amazing Spider-Man, and it looks like the closest to this one is from like 176. That sold for $26,400 back in 2021. I mean, there's a few covers, of course, that sold for more, but interior page-wise, so this is up there. So ComicLink, did rather well. This is a great page, though. When we had this one on the screen with Micah, I mean, it's just like you say, he's breaking the panels. Doc Ock's tentacles. I mean, everything about this page makes it just. If you're looking for a great Doc Ock page battling Spidey, this is it right there. And then over to Billy Tucci.
And second page I showed. This is a Tucci cover. He did 5 covers in the run. I think this is the first Tucci cover to come to market. Rarity in there. This did hammer about 6,700. I thought it did push past what would most people expected in the 5,500 range. I was told by that the reserve was 5,000. But pushing past that, I guess, was really because of the rarity of the piece. And I think if you look at the 5 covers, this would be one of the top 2. The profile image was really outstanding, and it really shows Tucci's kind of really showcases what he wanted to do with this character. So there were some other pieces, interior pieces that went for maybe $1,000 or so. So this was certainly pushing that forward. But again, this was the only one to come to market of the 5. So if somebody wanted it, someone said it would have paid up.
It's a great cover. It's an artist who's still not getting all the attention he deserves. So the person who got this really did get a good deal.
You can use the beach towels if you want. Just use the.
So I think that people didn't realize how rare these covers are. So congrats on the winner, but it was still a good price.
True. And I said ComicLink earlier on that Spider-Man page. I meant
it's ComicConnect. Yeah.
It's ComicConnect. Yes. And just looking at Tucci's prices too. I mean, this is for everything I've got on Heritage and eBay and a few other places. This is the high watermark too. So, there's nothing, not even half that.
It's I think 1,200 was the high, or 1,400 was the high. And it was for interior page.
Exactly.
So when you have a cover, who knows? Anything goes, as you say, in dueling dealers.
Right. Exactly. So $6,800 for that. So congrats to the seller. They did really well. ComicConnect, a couple home runs right there. So let me now I've got to switch because that was your 2 picks, right? We only had 2.
Yeah, I only had 2.
All right. So we'll swing back over here to you, Nick. And let's see. Sorry, I wish they made this easier to switch screens.
I'll answer a couple of questions while you're pulling that. Peter, okay. I think Willie has most of the covers, so that's where they are. And to answer West's question about the Ditko Spider-Man in Heritage, I thought that was a really strong price. I believe I know who the bidder was. Yeah, 240,000. I believe I know who the underbidder was, and the underbidder is trying to buy as much Ditko as he can. And so, I guess he's motivated in 2 ways. He's motivated to win as much Ditko as he can, but he's also motivated to make sure the Ditko market is strong. So
stay strong, right? Well, we know how that goes, right? All right. So your first ComicConnect piece was that Dave Cockrum Thor cover to issue 284, went for $28,700.
Yeah, Dave. I feel like Dave, non-expert cover, is finally getting the attention.
We did. I got bath towels.
And this Thor is just a prime example. I mean, you've got Thor versus 2 characters you wouldn't normally recognize, and it still broke $25,000. The other Thor cover that I think was in this range was one with Thor and Lady Sif, if I remember. But like I said, Cockrum is fun. It's a shame because Cockrum is honestly one of the best design artists the industry's ever had. Nobody realizes how great of a designer he was. He designed a lot of the Legion of Superhero characters, obviously most of the new X-Men he worked on and helped to bring to light. But this cover is just showing just where his pricing should be. So, again, a cover that probably wouldn't have come out if it wasn't for strong prices.
Right. I like the image. I thought the flying hammer certainly helps, and I think it may be overused, or the Earth is doomed has been used countless of times. But a good way to bring it where he's here. I think he's a good form here, and Cockrum, who isn't known for Thor, gets a chance to draw a great cover.
Yeah.
Yep, and you got Bob McLeod inks on that one too.
Yep.
All right, then this John Romita Jr. Amazing Spider-Man splash page went for $16,675.
I don't want to talk about this page. I missed it when it came out in Heritage a few years ago. This is, to a lot of people, myself included, one of the best two-part Spider-Man stories that has been out there from the Copper Age, Bronze Age. Um, it is incredible. It is, after um, I mean, look at Mr. Hyde, look at Cobra. After Cobra and Hyde being team for years, the fact that Hyde wants to kill Cobra, it's just so well remembered, so beautiful. And I just couldn't get myself to go over 12 because I felt like no matter how hard I pushed, somebody else would have pushed harder. And I was right because there are two people that pushed harder. So
It must have been the bricks, Nick.
Oh, I forgot all about the bricks. I should have asked Vincent and Micah if they'd white out the bricks.
That might have helped you.
No, but seriously,
I agree with you on that. Hail Cobra.
It's Hail Cobra.
But yeah, I mean, a great storyline for this and the following issue. I mean, I wasn't a big Spider-Man reader, but I bought these issues off the newsstand because the stories look so good, and so yeah, just a wonderful image. And I think the image after this, it starts the title page for the next issue, just equally iconic. So yeah, nice piece of art here.
And the covers are great, but this page and the splash page to the next issue are actually more iconic than the covers.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that.
Yeah.
So you didn't get that one, Nick. And Contest of Champions page.
Another Romita Jr. that I missed. I mean, the last ComicConnect, they had the one with Iron Fist fighting Daredevil, and I really wanted it, and I was the underbidder. And then this one is like, all right, I'm not even going to bother to go too high. Either I'm going to get lucky or I'm not. I mean, you've got Alpha Flight, you've got the X-Men. You've got the X-Men in the Danger Room. It's beautiful, and it's Romita Jr. and it's Romita Jr. and it's Romita Jr. and it's beautiful. And I did really, really poorly in regards to Romita Jr. in these auctions, and I love Romita Jr. So it's just so beautiful, so well done. And to be honest, I could have seen this go for more, which is why I just decided not to go crazy. I was just like, so congrats to the winner. You have an incredibly beautiful and historic page.
I agree. I love the book, and you get Alpha Flight and X-Men.
Before I forget, it's also Romita Jr.
Oh, right. Exactly. We forgot to mention that.
We forgot to mention that.
But yeah, very, very nicely done for whomever picked that one up. And Jason says that he loves his contest page.
As he should.
And he'll start a new drinking game every time Nick says Romita Jr. All right. Well, those were your picks. We can switch over to mine, and we'll be able to get to the end of our show tonight. Let's see here. Let me hide this one and add in the other one. Okay. So mine were easy. I mean, this was obviously a signature image from the auction. But again, I wasn't quite sure where this one was going to wind up. From the Silver Surfer Judgment Day, that splash page at 45,000. I'm not a huge follower on pricing with Buscema Surfer. I mean, I know from the original series, what those pages go for, but a book like this one, I just wasn't quite sure. Big Galactus image. I know there's again, we're back to that whole cosmic side of things. So again, wasn't really sure where this was going to wind up, but I mean, 45,000 felt right to me at the end of the day. I don't know what you guys thought. So,
no, it felt right. It was a good price. It was again, the market. It was a price that made it worth the consignor putting it in the auction. Mm-hmm. I think any auction house would have realized this amount of money, and Connect did a great job of making sure that it stood out. And you've got Galactus. I mean, look at that. You've got Galactus and 2 Heralds. It is just beautiful. There's no other word. It's just beautiful. And you know what? I will say 45,000 may feel like a lot, and it is a lot of money. Trust me, it is a lot of money. But in 2 years, it'll have been a steal.
And we all know Fish has the.
And I don't know, but I honestly would not be surprised if this is a page that a dealer won and is going to sit on for 2 years and then bring it back out at 75.
Well, we're going to see. I think Micah had mentioned that there may be a possibility of another Galactus splash from this issue in their next auction. So it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. I think we all know Fish's gorgeous surfer and splash that he has from this same book. And I was just thinking when this came out, when this came to auction, kind of what would it mean for that one. So I would just say, like, wow, I mean, this book has continued to rise in value. And the fact that it's a splash that's I think it has 2 heralds in it, and you have Galactus, I think makes it very, very desirable.
You know what I just realized?
What is that?
It's not Romita Jr. No,
it's not Romita Jr.
No, it's not.
No, but I better stop picking Romita Jr. because I just realized I'm like bringing attention to how well he's doing.
But I think it's important, because consignor times the market a bit, and knowing that Galactus is going to make a splash in the MCU with Fantastic Four, and I think it's going to be introduced to millions of people that may not know Galactus now. I think that may serve to bring pieces like this to market. And
I'll add one other thing, Bill. I mean, you're really seeing like the Kirby Galactus by Buscema, and it's incredibly well done. It's just incredibly well done. So all of the kidding aside, what I said earlier, congratulations to the winner, because in 2 years this will have been a steal. It's a strong price today, but
that's our hobby.
Yeah, and congrats to the seller. You got a strong price.
All right. Well, my last pick, was again the most expensive piece I think going, but it was that complete Corbin story. And I think when I had Mike on, he commented that it was something that everybody at the Metropolis offices had to stop and go look at because you just never seen anything quite like it before. To have a complete story from that period, and if you go and look. Top selling wise, I mean, there's only one other piece that's ever been out there by Corbin that sold for more, and that was that heavy metal den painting. I think it was earlier this year, right? Yeah, it was I think it was one of the first or second signature auctions that came out. So just to see something like this is pretty amazing by itself. But I forgot to even look at the price. What was it? 147, 148. Yeah. So. Just to me, this is just so great to see on the market. And, again, we keep kind of talking about that. It's the market that's bringing some of this artwork out that we might not have had the opportunity to see before. For that, I'm grateful. I mean, the prices are pretty amazing. It's great to see, everybody, I think, always has respected Corbin's work, but to see early work like this, it's just, I don't know, I was blown away, but so I didn't really know where it was going to wind up, though. I was thinking 100 would have been good, but to go closer to 150, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, truly museum worthy. I'm just impressed that the owner had kept it together so long, and I think that adds to the luster of the lot is to get the full story. Arguably one of Corbin's best works.
It's funny. By the way, before I say anything, hit that thumbs up, everybody.
Thank you, Nick.
The one thing I want to say is it's funny. Decades ago, I'm not kidding when I say decades ago, it used to be buying a complete issue was at a premium, and then about 10 years ago, it switched to buying a complete issue was discounted, and then you break it up for more money. But I think we're back to buying a complete issue is at a premium because we still have people that want complete issues. So this probably got a little bit more love because it's complete. And I don't know that there is any other Corbin complete issue out there. If there is, it's probably in Albert's collection,
Right.
More than likely. But yeah, so great to see this. And I'm glad the price was realized that it was. And ComicConnect, again, had a really spectacular auction this time around. I don't think they report publicly on the prices that they've gotten, but I would have to think that this had to have been one of their better art auctions, segments of their auctions that they've had. So congrats to them.
Congratulations to Micah and the
yeah, I mean, Micah's been doing a great job for them, and I do think it's back to that. You see them at all the shows now that the pandemic's over. They're out there. They're aggressive. I mean, Micah's very outgoing. I think he was a great pickup for them, and it's paying off. Yeah, that's always good to see. Hard work.
I actually spoke with Vincent a little bit over a week ago, and congratulated him on how great Micah's been doing, because he's, the Heritage people have a team of people that get out there, and you've got Joe and Nadia with all of their connections, and you've got Aaron and everybody that are really just making sure that they're capitalizing on all their relationships. And Micah, 2 years in, is just really getting in there, talking to people, and he's brought strong art in that's allowed the Metropolis art to grow. I think that Metropolis now, Metropolis and ComicLink are both doing great. They're both competing well. They're both doing great. And rising tide lifts all boats. And like you said earlier, Bill, seeing that the variety of art in multiple auctions is good for everybody.
Okay. Well, I good picks, Bill and Nick, and
thank you. Same to you, Dino. This was fun.
So.
Thank you for doing this while you're on holiday, and I hope you've got another 10 or 12 days in paradise, Dino.
We'll enjoy it. You too. Happy holidays to you guys as well. I hope you enjoyed our thoughts today.
Yeah.
All right.
Have a great one, Dino.
Yep. And everybody, thank you for tuning in tonight. We'll be back at it again tomorrow with an interview. But again, Dino, Nick, thank you so much for doing this. I enjoy getting to hang out with you and do these recaps.